Welcome back to the Mind Body Mentor podcast. My name is Stephen Jaggers, and I am your host. And on today's episode, sitting down with my brother from another mother, Mr. Fischer. We are in the new lab.
Yeah.
Here in Austin, Texas, and I've moved out of downtown into a spot with quite a bit more nature, as you can see in the background here. And I think we are due for a drop-in, my brother.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, you can fill us in on a little bit on the transition from living in the city to living in nature. I think that would be a nice little starting point.
It's moving to Austin and spending a year here and landing downtown. It was a challenge to see and feel the aliveness outside because it's very much alive. Just as, I look outside here and I've seen squirrels and foxes and hawks and owls and snakes and just so much life, you would say. We think of nature as life, but to be downtown and to see the hustling and bustling of the city and the hum of cars and nervous systems that are trying to hustle and build and grind. And it was a challenge to actually, I think I developed quite a bit of nervous system capacity living in that. Also to see and feel the aliveness in a different way. But over time, I could feel that humming from just being downtown in the city start to cause some dysregulation within my own system. And just being here I've only been here 2 weeks, not even. And I can feel immediately looking outside and looking at the trees, my nervous system just slow down. And it was beneficial for a chapter being here. Obviously, just seeing the growth of myself and Somatic throughout that chapter. Now I'm feeling I'm moving into another chapter of slowness, of intention, and building from that place and seeing what that's like. And I know from my past and even my childhood, there is an aspect of I am addicted to stress in a way. I'm addicted to adrenaline, growing up skateboarding and, doing all of just the jiu-jitsu and basketball and, being very much an adrenaline junkie. I know that my system is addicted to stress. So what does it look like to create from a place of pure relaxation?
Both are needed.
Yeah.
You must live in New York City, but leave before it makes you too hard. You must live in Northern California, but leave before it makes you too soft.
Yeah. Can you cultivate range, I think that before, living in Sedona in the middle of nowhere, in beautiful nature, walking outside and just in the awe of existence every day, you look in every direction and you're just like, wow, I'm on God's palette, and then literally injecting myself into the center of just chaos. Can I manage that? And I think that's one thing that I see, and I see this on Instagram all the time, is people have this understanding that a regulated nervous system is a calm nervous system. But a regulated nervous system doesn't mean that you're just calm all the time. It means that you actually have range and you can handle being in intensity and staying centered. You can handle coming back down and relaxing. And you have the ability to fluctuate and choose between sides. You have resilience.
Yeah. How you speak, your voice is a window into your nervous system in a lot of ways. If you're listening to someone who speaks very calmly, that can be perceived as that person is calm. But like you said, energy fluctuations. this high and low range within your ability to actually have your voice match those. That is a very natural, very relaxed nervous system. That is where you feel at home. And people can feel that because you, just in your storytelling, are taking them on a ride. Your highs and lows, laughter, all those expressions come out in just a sentence. And that really showcases a very calm and regulated nervous system.
Mm-hmm. Is there anywhere that you feel like you are being stretched or your capacity is being pulled in any ways that are asking you to create more range for yourself?
Well, I believe the older you get and the more you've been on this planet, the more capacity you should have acquired. You shouldn't always have a 8 gigabyte phone. You know, it should get to 250. It should get to these higher numbers. And being on the planet 44 years, I would say that I actually have developed a tremendous amount of range, but I continue to push myself. I have to find areas where I can be pushed, and I have to lean into those on purpose.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very easy to be like, oh man, I've had a lot. I'm just going to sit here as a relaxation state and stay here. Building somatic and ushering that in is quite the capacity decision maker. I spent 7 years traveling the world, built a business. It was hands off. It was your quintessential passive income stream. It was ATM machine kind of like lifestyle. I traveled for 7 years, no stresses, no worries, no wrinkles. And it was nice. My hair was still in place and everything. But to me, that is Northern California. That was me recharging my battery in a way to prepare myself for something really, really special, something to actually put and consume and pour into, and to have the value to do, like to want to do that. It has to be a great cause for me. And I found that. And so for me, I am being stretched in a multitude of areas, Yeah. I always try to save you from it. No, don't worry about Insurance stuff. We're working on it. Financial stuff. We're working on it. And my eyes do glaze over during those periods of time. So, but it is worth it. And that's what matters more. The question more is, do you have something that's worth stretching your capacity?
Yeah. Do you have something worth stressing over?
Yeah.
Stress is the thing that kills us, and it's also the thing that causes growth. And I think a bigger question is choosing your own stressors, because we think we want an easy life, but we actually want something to push up against. We want something to overcome. We want something that's going to sharpen us, that's going to push our boundaries.
Yes.
And figuring out what's something that's worth it.
To live on the edge, on that edge, not too far and not too far away from that edge and not too far beyond that edge. Yeah. To live on that edge is to really feel alive.
Yeah. Just from knowing you for a while, and obviously we are in a, you could say, intimate relationship.
Very much.
And one of the patterns I do see with you, and I notice, is that, and I don't know exactly where it comes from, but maybe it's the caretaker aspect of you. But you do sometimes, like you just said, not wanting to let other people know kind of what's going on, and like holding and managing it all yourself. Do you think that, like, where do you think you developed that, or where do you think that like comes in, or what does that bring up for you? Or maybe it's absolutely wrong and you can shut this question down.
No, I think that I believe we have an innate knowing to know how much the people around us can handle. When you have put time and energy into your own strength,
Yeah.
whether that is like musculature system or nervous system strength, when you have built your own capacity, let's just say, you know what others' capacity is.
Yeah.
Imagine a physical world where I bench press, 250, and I see everyone else benching 150, 100. Someone actually benches 400. I know what their capacities are. I'm watching them. Even in a gym, you would notice that. If you walked around, you would notice who lifts a lot and who doesn't.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm aware of on our team who can handle what and how much they can handle. And so I distribute based on that. I'm bringing the weights over. 250, good. 150, good. Not to over max anyone, because that leads to that just leads to frustration. It leads to them actually maybe getting injured on a mental level, maybe, if we're speaking not in the terms of physical. But
it's a beautiful sensitivity that you've developed to be able to tune into people and actually see where they're at.
I wonder if that's a skill I've kind of always had.
I would probably push you to say it's something that you've developed, and it's probably from something earlier in life, maybe.
What I might say is that it is something that we all have, but whether or not we've actually recruited that muscle enough, whether we've actually been able to flex it. I have had a string of events in my life that have allowed me to cultivate that.
Yeah.
I believe everyone has it. I would believe that. Whether or not they've had the time to actually be able to utilize that, I'm not sure. Because if you don't use it, it becomes inhibited. You lose it.
Yeah.
So
I would consider that like energetic etiquette, where you can feel into the space and how much space that you can actually take up.
Mm-hmm.
Within another person's space.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to interact with people that don't have that sort of sensitivity, where they will just put all their stuff out into the space and you can feel it. It's almost like baggage in the room,
Yeah.
It's like, and it's interesting because I watch people that, or I have interactions with people that don't have that sort of energetic sensitivity, and it's kind of awkward a little bit. But it's like, I'm like, this person maybe just hasn't gone through enough things to develop that energetic etiquette where they understand space and how to take up space and give space, hold space, take up space. Like it's very much like I'm moving forward into something. Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit. I'm going to just stay where I'm at. It's an energetic dance between relation that is needed, I think, to become masterful at that in a lot of different ways. If you want to run a business, if you want to be in a relationship, if you want to develop friendships.
You say something, and I think it's quite profound. And I think that it interestingly fits into the timeline of life. You say, slow it down in order to feel it more. And what's interesting is that our life slows down as we get older.
Some would say because I hear the opposite. People say life speeds up.
From a mental capacity, life still goes quickly. It's like toilet paper, right? The more it goes, the faster it goes. But I'm referring to like the physiology, the systems, they start to slow down. I'm in my 40s, so I can tell you, I don't move as quick as I used to.
Yeah.
I'm more sensitive to like how I get up out of bed in the morning. Like my biology is slowing down. Maybe my ability to have memories and my psyche, perhaps maybe it's the psyche that speeds up and it's the actual physical body that slows down. I did get to watch my father in a way, deteriorate in front of my eyes. He had a stroke at 63-ish, and I watched him for the next 12 years just get slower and slower, and in turn, get more sensitive and more sensitive and more sensitive. And he used to say, I don't know why I cry. I don't know why I'm so sensitive. And I never had words. And really after Somatic, I was like, I know why, Dad. And I was able to like share that with him, you know, before the end. And so that was just a really nice like gift, I think, that we can always give each other, is to just remind ourselves, like, to slow down is to actually cultivate more awareness. It's more feeling and more sensation. And the byproduct of that is more aliveness.
Yeah.
And that is our invitation statement for Somatic in a way.
I love that. You know, we were refocusing on our mission statement as a business, because, you know, you got to have a mission statement and a vision statement and values and all of these things that are, you know, pretty standard in a business plan.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, we're reading a lot of these other mission statements from other businesses and just kind of trying to get inspiration. And a lot of these are like, wow, they're all telling a person what they're going to do to you, what they're going to do for you.
Yeah.
And, you know, for the world, right?
Yeah.
Like for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, like we both sat there and we're like, this kind of feels like you're not really asking for consent.
Yeah.
Like you're just like,
yep,
you're coming on
forcing.
strong.
Yeah.
Right. And so you had a brilliant idea with like, let's actually change the paradigm of mission statement to an invitational statement. Because that's what everything is. That's what we base everything off of. It's like, you can only create the space for somebody to step into their own greatness, to step into their own healing, to step into their own potential. And it's always an invitation. It's never a forcing, right? Even with yourself, even with like your own power, you know, something that I catch myself saying a lot is like, you know, stepping into your power or feeling powerful is not forcing. It's actually how much can you relax into your self fully, and that is powerful. Power is relaxed. And so creating this invitational statement was felt like we were traversing new territory in a way. Like, okay, we could just go down the path that everyone else is going down, but it's like, wow, we spent a couple of hours like, really, what does that mean? And being intentional about it. And it was a powerful thing. So we'll keep you guys updated. We have one working right now.
Yeah, good.
Something that has been coming up for me, and we had, you know, a conversation last night at dinner. It's been so interesting to watch this grow into such a movement, and I just asked myself, why is it growing so much? Like, I think the mental part of myself wants to understand, like, why are people so intrigued? Specifically when it comes, you look at something like our YouTube right now, where it's like, we have over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is just, my mind doesn't even can't even fathom that many people. But are clicking subscribe because there's a felt sensation that they want to know more about it. And I'm like, what is that is making them want to learn more, or to like, what is it that they're feeling a relation to? What do you think? What's your hypothesis?
You know, I heard Jim Carrey say it really, really well. You know, he says that we all think that we are a human experiencing the universe, but we are the universe experiencing humanness. And I think that's really what it is. I think there is a bold connection between all of us, even for those who don't know what they're watching on our content.
Yeah.
Two humans together, like so intimately intertwined that you would probably only see that in the cinema, other than actually real life on social media. Surely not.
Yeah.
But you have two humans that are interacting and they're not mirroring each other per se. One is being so responsible to the other, and the other is actually fully in their vulnerability and their expression.
Yeah.
And that right there, you can't help but look away from that. And on top of that, that connects you to something deeper, more intrinsic, more innate, more primal. And it transcends all language that we would know, verbal language, and moves to the body language. Our content, in my opinion, speaks to a universal language, emotion, somatics, caretaking. And I think that words aren't always the most powerful thing, and yet they are the thing we use the most. Especially, I've mentioned this in the English language, but there's something about that content that speaks so much more than just words.
Yeah,
and can touch everyone.
Something that continues to come up for me around that is humanness and humanity. And I think it showcases humanness at its full spectrum. And I think people crave more humanness. And what does it mean to be human, right? We crave, there's so much to dive into there, but that's a word that keeps coming up. And even when you look at the expansion of technology and AI, and, you know, there's so much out there that, AI is going to replace so many people's jobs, and, a lot of this productivity based jobs, like, I think the same thing happened in like the Industrial Revolution, where it's like, okay, now we have machines to take over a lot of the stuff that can just do things better than humans can do. And now we have AI that's taking over a lot of the stuff that computers can just do better than humans.
Yeah.
Taking calls, doing admin stuff. I mean, even creating lots of different things. And I think that as that continues to speed up, the question is, what does it mean to be human? What is our humanness? What does it mean to be fully human? And I don't think we really know. And I think that there is an opportunity. There's a lot of doomsdayers within the AI, that AI will continue to expand to a place where it's just going to eradicate humanity, which, who knows? There's so many different outlooks on that, and potential outcomes. But I think it is a massive opportunity to, when it no longer becomes about who can be the most productive, who knows the most information, who can produce the most. What matters then? I think what matters is, what can humans do that only humans can do? And that is human to human connection. That is our humanity. That is feeling and sensing, connecting on an emotional level, somatic relation to each other. And I think most people don't really know it, but they feel it. I think we've been able to showcase humanness in a very beautiful light.
Well said. Yes. Well said. Exactly what he said.
Yeah. And where I find this dichotomy that's very interesting is that, it's hard to showcase. I think that, well, I'll back up a little bit. We started out as somatic release breathwork, and, both having a bodywork background, helping people release a lot of tension and stress, and, whether it's muscular imbalances or emotional undigestion and all of these different things, helping people process and express. Expression could be considered a release. And it's like, okay, well, that's not the end. Like, having this profound awareness, and always, having this lens of the duality of life, because that is something that you can put on everything, that, because it is the way that this world works. I know this. It's not about just the release, but it's about the space that you create after that release to actually bring back in how you want to show up in the world. And then eventually you'll have to release again and bring something new in. And like, that's how life works. It's a life and death process over and over and over again. And I think that we showcase a lot of the release, and it's hard to showcase what's on the other side of that, the space that's created for someone's deep connection to themselves and to bring back in how they want to show up. And something that I maybe perhaps worry a little bit from just what is showcased is that showcasing people connecting to their emotions on a deep level, which I think is so important, but we can't, and I want to make sure I'm careful about my languaging here, because we can't just stay stuck in our feels. It's important to have access to go there. And I think that as a collective, we've just been so suppressed and cut off from that. Mm-hmm. So even that's a first step, but it's really tapping into the emotions, having a healthy space to move through that so that they're not leaking out, mm-hmm. because emotions are energy in motion. They're the most powerful thing that's controlling our reality. And when they're not conscious or not having a place to move, they will want to move through in some sort of way. And a lot of the times they're leaking out in our relationships and being thrown all over everyone in a very unconscious way. And so it's having a deep connection to your emotions, moving through it. And then at that point, your mind becomes so much more clear and you can actually make rational decisions. We don't have a lot of rational thinkers. You know, I heard that recently, that our life is controlled by the invisible forces. Like, so much of life is controlled by invisible forces, whether it is electricity, gravity, radiation. And the invisible forces control our life the most. And the one that controls the most is emotion. It's like wars are created from emotion. Mm-hmm. War and emotion will stop wars eventually. Mm-hmm. Or marriage is created by emotion. Relationships are created by emotion. Babies mm-hmm. are created by emotion. And having, like, we think it's the mind, right? We think it's the mind that's controlling most of these things, but the mind is just tuning into whatever emotional state that we are inhabiting. And so focusing on that emotional state, getting a wrap on our emotional default state and how we are feeling, and being able to like develop a healthy somatic relationship with that can be able to shift us to a way where we can actually think clearly and rationally. And I would, if we had places, spaces, traditions, patterns that were acknowledging of that, because we've weeded that out of our culture, I think we'd have much more rational thinkers in power in our day-to-day life. And that is my personal understanding of our mission in a way. But I think it's not always, the ability to capture that is not always complete in a fast food style content such as Reels or YouTube or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's a timeline to all things. And so when people are unaware of things, concepts like somatic release are a great starting point.
Yeah.
It's hard for them to acknowledge or even to understand what it is to feel space beyond the release until they've actually even seen the release, until they even can acknowledge that it is a thing that exists in this world. And then so I think our content forward facing is a great starting point. And the evolution of the brand and what it wants to become will move along with the consciousness as it levels up. So too, it will be ready when everyone else is kind of ready to like, okay, what happens after the release? Tell us more about the space. Curiosity has been driven in that way. And so there is a timeline effect.
You said something last night that really kind of, I thought I understood it, but it really kind of smacked me a little bit. That was, imagine when the global population like actually understands this, and how like, because obviously we get a lot of haters out there that watch our videos that just have no idea on what's actually going on. And imagine when people actually, like the global consciousness raises to a place where people actually understand it, it is just going to revolutionize everything. And maybe that never happens, but those who think it will and those who think it won't are both right usually, most of the time.
Yeah. Polar planet. You're always going to have the poles. You're always going to have both. And that's okay. There's always a balance. I think this is moving through because there is a tipping of the scales, and it needs to be tipped back. Yeah. COVID created a tremendous amount of stress, worry, anxiety, all these things, and it was absent of what? Breath. Here we are now looking into, and that was a global movement. Yeah. And here we are looking at a tipping of the scales back. It'll take time. COVID was 2 years. It will take another 8, to tip it back, whatever. But the point is that it will be tipped. It will find balance. The universe always does. And so too, we talk about growth and stress. Yeah. Being these
life is always striving for growth, balanced growth. There will be the swinging of the pendulum on both sides. Yeah. But it always finds a, like, nature itself always finds a way to balance itself out.
Yeah. Yeah. What's really interesting is when I actually bring up the concept that a lot of the things that we teach in Somatic can be found in nature. Yeah. I think that really gets people's interest, like, wait, whoa. It's almost this, animals do this? Yeah. If animals do this, then I'm actually very interested in hearing what you have to say. Yeah. Because it's like they know about the innate intelligence of nature. They understand it deeper in that primal level. And so if you can say, there's videos of antelopes, there's videos of polar bears, etc. There's examples of animals removing stress from their actual physical body out in nature.
Children.
That's a great one. But people can resonate, though, deeper with like the actual untapped, unfiltered rawness of nature, because they still feel like man hasn't really, truly manipulated it for his own best interest in that way.
Yeah. And I had someone challenge me on that where they were saying, there are no animals or anything doing like extended, longer, deep breathwork sessions. And I'm like, okay, yeah, obviously there is a discharge process that animals go through when they experience something traumatic or stressful. And it might not look like an hour-long breathwork session. Sure. But also if you look at humanity right now, like humans do a lot of shit that's not found in nature. Like we have Wi-Fi and we have airplanes and we have phones and we have all this stuff that is really beyond our essential humanity, you could say. And so like we have swung a pendulum so far from our humanness, I think. And that's relative, because who's to say what humanness is, because it could be an evolution itself, right? So, but if you think of the natural world, the natural processes, the timeline of humans and how much time we've actually spent developing our nervous system. Like if you look at the past thousands of years versus the past 100 years, like there's been massive amount of change in that small little 100 years that we've experienced. That is just there's more dis-ease, there's more degeneration, there's all of these issues that I think are because it just happens so quick, that it hasn't, because humans are so fucking resilient. Like, we can overcome lots of things. It just takes us time, because and it might take generations of being able to adapt through that. Like, our lives are short on the timeline of evolutionary biology. But having modalities to combat and to bring back into balance the rapid change, the rapid indoctrination of technology and all these things that our nervous system is not used to. I think that is what's needed. And so you look at a technology like somatic breathwork, it's like, if we were still living as hunter-gatherers, we probably wouldn't need that, It wouldn't be natural to us, because we were already we already are so in touch with our innate intelligence, and we're singing together, and we're dancing together, and we're telling story together, and we're in connection, and we're fucking present with each other. And it wouldn't be needed if we were living in that sort of context, but the amount of isolation, the amount of chronic stress, the amount of just dysregulation from all of these new variables that have been thrown at us recently, we need more tools.
Domestication.
And so,
separation from nature.
And 100%. The domestication is, if you look at just human timeline, as soon as we started becoming domesticated, those are the first signs of any sort of degenerative diseases within the human body. But yeah, it's like, it is a technology that is helpful to bring us back into balance, because we've swung the pendulum so far. And it is really nothing new. It's just pushing us further into the innate intelligence of our body, so that we can really come back into balance, because we wouldn't need to swing the pendulum that far if we were already living in that sort of natural state. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a balance. It's a technology created for balance. I mean, that's what this is. This is a biological balancing machine. I mean, you and I both know I've had I play a lot of pickleball. I hurt my hip, and I'm like, man, this knee is bothering me. Yeah, some motorcycle crashes in there too. But definitely, you watch how the body will. I mean, as body workers, we see how the body starts to create tension over here to help out, some weakness over here. Inhibition on the back posterior side causes inhibition on the higher anterior side, and vice versa, with cross syndrome stuff. It's just such a cool machine. I feel so honored to have life force moving through me, and get to kind of just, I mean, I talk about this. I've talked a little bit about this, Anatomy Physiology 101 I was taking in college. It was one of my first biology structured classes, and I was just I remember we spent an entire month, 4 weeks, on the actual the CNS, sending neuromuscular facilitation to a muscle to go past some kind of Hertz metric that will allow a muscle action potential. Yeah. And it was called the sliding filament theory. And after it was all said and done, I'm like, it's only a theory? I was like, we don't know for sure how our brain sends a signal to our bicep and creates a muscle contraction. That's still just maybe a theory of how that actual muscle contracts. And I just was like, God, this thing is a miracle. You spend a month learning about muscle contractions, you can't help but just be in awe of everything that this mechanism can do.
Yeah. I try to remember, I try to just look at my skin and look at my cells, and to just wrap my head around how these cells are dying and being and are also recreating themselves every day. And my mind just can't even fathom what that takes. And to feel the blood pumping through my veins, it's just, there are no words.
Yeah.
There are no words. It is the felt sense of humanness.
Yeah. We live in a world with planned obsolescence, right? And so everything is kind of like behind the curtain. You don't need to know how a car works. Just turn the key. And it's like, okay, all right. Just a disconnect there.
Yeah.
Understanding the mechanical workings of actually a car.
Yeah.
An airplane, doesn't matter. Just sit on it. It will get you where you need to be. We just miss out on actually really how things work. Electricity, Wi-Fi, don't have a clue. Most of us, I can just speak for me. No clue. No idea how it works. I think it goes to space and comes back down through satellites. Who knows? But I'm partly joking, but actually partly not joking. There are a lot of things in life. I drive past them and I'm like, what is that? Is that like a power plant? What does that do? And so I'm always so fascinated about these things. And I feel like we're the same way about our own body.
100%. There's a quote that I read recently that I'm trying to find that just says this so well, but I don't know if I'll be able to find it.
No worries. I'll just keep talking until you find it.
Just keep rolling because it was just so, it was so spot on.
I spent an entire summer building computers. I spent the very next summer building an engine, building an engine for my father in his old Subaru. I hated it. Yeah. Could care less about how computers worked. Could care less about how a car worked. Then I got to college and I had to forced to pick a subject. And I can't tell you why, but for some reason, I just loved the body. And it's maybe because I had one. I had a car too. I had a computer too. I didn't care how they worked.
Well, you want to have an owner's manual to your own body. Yeah. We're not given an owner's manual.
No, we're not.
God, I can't find it, but I'll try to say it as best as I can
for us.
As best as I can remember.
Okay.
Try one more. Hold on. Is it there? No, it's not there. Basically, it says the issues in today's world are because we have godlike technology. We have medieval institutions and we have ancient physiology. Something like that.
It's really good. It's really, really good.
We are given godlike technology right now. Yeah. We still have medieval institutions.
Yep.
And we have an ancient physiology. It's like, what a combination.
Wow. That's cool. What a cool quote. I like that.
Yeah. I think I put a synopsis around it, but I think I covered it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what would be interesting for this podcast as we kind of move towards the latter half, I think it would be cool to delve into our own humanness a little bit.
Yeah.
And to maybe just throw a couple questions at each other to try to maybe pull out some humanness.
Yeah. That sounds good.
That's already that are coming up. That, I guess
I can run it.
Okay.
I'll run it.
Now I'm scared.
Because this is a window into self, just like breath work. What would you tell your younger self? If you could share anything.
About anything? Anything. What age? What?
Just you're here now and you're going to speak to yourself at 12, maybe teenage years.
Yeah. What's interesting is that I rarely tune in. Inner child work is powerful, and I've recently really been kind of delving into that and going back and like really trying to connect to myself at almost each age. And I got to like 16 and I was like, wow, here's a man, a boy, really trying to be a man who's an only child dealing with just a lot of dysregulation, a lot of chaos at home, and trying to be a hero. You know, I really see him as a hero child. And the shadow aspect of that is just trying to control so many things. And there's this controller within him that he's trying to do so much goodness for the people around him. And robbed him of his own, like, just adolescent years of needing to control environment, situations. And I think I've had recent conversation with him and just letting him know that, like, you don't have to control all of this, like, and not even that, because I think that wouldn't even land for him, because he felt very much like he needed to control. But even just to say, like, you are doing so good, you're doing so good, and just to have that encouragement, because there was no mentors, there was no role models, there was no I think support that understood where his heart was at that point in time. And it's okay to let go a little bit, and it's okay to fuck up. I was so focused on being good and doing good that I robbed myself of getting scraped up a little bit, getting hurt, you know, being a teenager, because he was trying to be a hero adult at 16 years old. Thank you for that question, bro.
Yeah, well, I'd like to start off with a banger.
You pulled out my humanness. That's for sure.
That is beautiful. Thank you for going there.
Yeah,
and showing that. It's I've been a confidant for you for a long time, and very rarely have I actually gotten to witness a tear actually roll down your cheek.
Yeah,
that's really special.
They've been coming out more and more lately.
It's really cool.
It's necessary. I think, I mean, that is a powerful question, and I can't help but want to ask you the same thing.
Intrinsically, it's funny, I always say that you're more of a teacher and I'm more of a philosopher. I don't know if that's really accurate, but what I mean is I am really comfortable with the observational component of life. And so if I get an opportunity to go back to see my younger self, it would be a full witness of it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really want to say anything. I wouldn't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
I would just want to be there watching and getting to feel and watch some of those tough things, you know, and watch some of the joyous things too. You know, I had a tough one when I was like 17. I lost my best friend to a heart attack, and it was like really shocking because he was only 18 and he did have some heart issues. And so, you know, I remember myself just watching life and not being too attached to that loss, but like really observing it. But I would love to observe myself in that when I was there observing life. I don't feel like I would say anything. I just say I would just be over there. I would just like to be there just for support, not for anything other than just to just to catch a glance of the man that I was becoming. And I think that would have been really cool.
Yeah. I resonate 100% because when you asked me that question, it's not like I would tell him anything to change his experience. Yeah. You know, it's like he had to do that for a reason. You know, all of it was for a reason. Yeah. There's just an aspect of comfort and not even that, just empathy and connection that I think I would try to give.
Yeah.
It would be more of a felt sense communication for it would be something communicated beyond words.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have another question for you. Unless you want to.
In a way, I think that question has a much deeper desire for our humanness to want to have children. I think ultimately, like, not always, but a lot of our desire to have children is to get another chance, you know, to protect when we weren't able to protect ourselves, to allow someone to be the hero and the mentor, and we didn't have it for ourselves. And right or wrong, there is none, but I think it does lie very deeply into our own desire to carry on us.
100%.
So,
and I can see that within my own parents. Really, we talk about this concept of a transitional character, someone who is breaking the chain of ancestral trauma, the passed down of whatever hurt, pain that they experienced, and they want to have a kid to make sure that, you know, they don't pass that down, right? They have another chance to like heal it, because healing is in relation, whether it's relationship to significant other or child. And they gave me so much love, and I could feel that they were struggling with their own stuff, but I know in their heart that they really parented from a place of all of the pain and suffering that they went through. They didn't want to pass that down. They wanted to give me the opposite, and it was really beautiful. On the opposing end of that, we'll ask you a question. Say you are 85 years old on your deathbed.
Yeah.
And you're looking back at your life.
Yeah.
And you're speaking to 2023 Fischer.
Yeah.
What do you think you'd say?
I think it would be very short and very sweet and right to the point. And I think I would say, I really had a good time, and I'd like to do it again. Which lets me know that I do have reverence for this life and the experiences that I'm going to have, and I love that. And I know that on my deathbed, I will 100% be ready to go boldly into death. I'm ready. Like, let's take that on. That's a part of this. And so I will find that same reverence in death that I do in life. But to be like able to just be like, that was really, really enjoyable, and I'd like to do it again, seems like a very fitting comment for me at my end of my life.
Yeah. You are such an experiential being, and you live for experiences.
I do.
All of them. You soak it in.
I do.
And so even that statement sounds very, very Fischer of you.
Yeah, very Fischer. Yeah. Yeah. I think we live currently in a very materialistic world that the metric is how much money you make. And I just think of like how poor you must be if that's the only metric. you walk away with, like we don't calculate it, but like how many times did we laugh? How many times did we smile? How many times did we cry? How many times did we let ourselves feel what we were feeling? Like that metric, that right there, that's experience. That's life. And it should be the metric that we use, but we don't calculate, we don't value it, we don't honor it in that way. And so it becomes a culmination of just a felt thing.
How human did we let ourselves be? Yeah. Got anything for me?
To date, what has been the best discovery of your life?
The best discovery. That's a tough one. Wow. That's an expansive question. There's so many, and I think the one that's coming up right now, which is probably depends on what day you ask me this question. The one that comes up right now is the aspect of the discovery of self. The discovery of my own process and my own expression in the world, and the confidence of being able to put that out, like the realization that most people are so worried about themselves that they don't really care as much about you. And that is a beautiful thing, because it really actually means that you can be 100% your authentic self and express that in the world and don't have to care about what other people think. And even if I'm expressing controversial topics that I feel inside are of value and need to be talked about, that might be challenged by a lot of people, I want to bring it out without fear of judgment, because I know there will be other people that resonate. And I think a lot of people, we get so trapped in fear of worried about what people think, that if I can just discover my own taste. What's my taste? What do I like? What do I like? What do I not like? What do I want to talk about? What do I not want to talk about? What do I want to do with my time? And not because of what anybody else has put on me as far as expectation. What do I like? What's my taste? And can I express that into the world? And from that place, I think that people feel that. And a lot of the times, the things that you will share from that place, you'll be surprised at how many other people resonate, and it will give you a felt sense that you're not alone.
Love it.
That's a really, really good question.
That's deep.
Someone is struggling with a heart-wrenching breakup, and their just nervous system is in a nervous breakdown. What do you say to them?
I think I just have to like default to, because I was in this situation and I had a lot of people tell me it will pass. And a sailor in the midst of a storm doesn't want to hear that the storm will pass. Doesn't give a fuck. He's in the storm. And so what you say is nothing. I will just kind of have to like.
How do you be then?
Well, I have to take Brene Brown's kind of like little skit here. I love her skit where she talks about sympathy versus empathy. And really, how do you be? You be empathetic. But truthfully, you can only be there with them if you have been there and have made it through that. Otherwise, you shouldn't even go down into that kind of depths because you'll get lost. Yeah. To go down with someone where they're in that darkness and to be with them, the only way you can do that is if you've actually found your way out yourself. Yeah. And so, sympathy is, this too shall pass. There's a silver lining to all things.
Yeah.
And empathy is, I'm just here for you. And I will be for as long as you need me to be. Yeah. And that's it. And that is what it is to be with someone. That is what it is to like really, truly honor them. Yeah. So that because they know they have to go through that and push through that on their own accord.
Yeah.
But they're not doing it alone. And that is the greatest caveat, and the greatest gift that you can give someone in that situation.
That they have to go through it, but they don't have to go through it alone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a dear friend of mine who held me and didn't give me any advice. He held me for probably a month. Every single night. Wow. He held me and I just cried. I just asked him, why is this? Like, why can't I get past this? And he just would hold me. Didn't say anything. And I'm just, for someone looking for so many answers,
yeah,
he gave me the greatest answer. He let me have it.
He let you struggle through it. We always want to, we don't want to see people struggle through it. We rob them of their growth in a way.
We don't want to see ourselves struggle. That's why.
Yeah, we don't want to see ourselves struggle. But that struggling is the sharpening, is the growth of our capacity.
Yes.
And our ability to probably eventually help someone else who's in that place.
It is our metamorphosis.
Yeah.
It is the quintessential story of the cocoon, and the butterfly. And he needs that cocoon. He needs to break through that on his own. If you come over and help him in that process and cut it out for him, he can't scrub against it. He can't free his wings. The caterpillar stays a caterpillar and therefore never gets to transform into something that can now fly.
Any others? You want to do a couple more?
I'm gonna answer the question of maybe my greatest discovery. I think that I think it's very similar to yours.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the greatest discovery of my life has been that I have figured out my life's currency. I think just like the 5 love languages, I think that was a simplistic book that showcased 5 types of languages that you can speak to really speak to someone's heart.
Yeah.
And, are there 5 languages, or currencies that can be a metric for someone's life? I'm sure. I probably could write a little book on it, but some people seek that the social currency is known as power. And some people seek that monetarily currency is money, and some people, they seek, well, I could go on and on, but what I seek connection. And I have come to find that the greatest discovery of my life is that my life's currency is connection. And that will be the metric in which I measure my life against. Yeah. If you find out your love language, you get so filled up with love. Yeah. But take that step further in figuring out what is the currency that enriches your life. And when you find that, you probably have a North Star to guide you through so many different ups and downs that life will, of course, inevitably throw in front of you. So that's my greatest discovery.
I love that, brother. When you speak about that, what also comes up, and I think this will be kind of a little bit of a wrap on this, but I think there's a currency to witnessing people's humanness.
Yeah.
It's been a theme. There's nothing more that I love than to see a human in its full expression. To see a human in their mastery, in their art form. Yeah. Whether it's just jamming and playing music and just fully in flow state, Like I love to witness humans in their flow state, in their art form, in their humanness, in their own unique expression. And for myself, I think spending time in that place is there's nothing I would rather want.
And that's what this movement is all about.
Yeah,
that right there, giving a place and a space for that to unfurl.
You want to end it with the
I knew you might give it to me. And I was like, ooh, let me see if I'm gonna get it, because this is from memory, but I believe I can pull it off.
Yeah.
At Somatic, we invite individuals to be fully alive and to unlock their own unique expression.
I love it. Well, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed both of us showcasing our humanness and just keeping you guys up to date where we're at. We love you so much.